rebuilding confidence, and harmonizing with nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zimet.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the Beverly Zimet Show, where being that best you has just gotten easier. My guest today is Chris Lee, calling in from Ontario, Canada. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Well, thank you, Beverly, for inviting me onto your show. Yes, I'm in Ontario. Just actually, we can almost see Windsor, Ontario, which is across from Detroit. That gives people a better point of where I am.
So you're really close to the border there.
Yes, we do. We also get less snow in that because we're further south.
Oh my gosh, don't talk to me about snow. We had snow here in Denver yesterday.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Well, you're pretty high there, Mile High City, of course, yes.
Well, that's what they say, right? But it's too early for wintertime, and it's cold here, and it's like, I'm not too sure about this cold. I'm not used to being in it. So, but you know what? This year, I think, is one of these years that nothing is of the norm, right? Everything in everybody's world is turned in another direction, and it's all about getting resourceful to be able to continue and figure out what the new norm for you personally is going to be, and how are you going to make the best of this and come out the other side even better than when you went in. And our show is all about being that best you that you can be. So when we're talking with the guests, is what's going on in their life? What is it that they can give and share with the audience to help them do just that, to become that better them in every aspect of life, whether it's finances, whether it's personal relationships, or whether it's business, or all of the above, and even health. So, Chris, why don't you share with the audience exactly what it is that you do up there in Ontario?
Okay. What I do is that for the last 25 years, I actually graduated as a clinical hypnotherapist. And that is a therapist using hypnosis, not a hypnotist show. But what I did was I found after about a year of after leaving or finishing that course, working with clients, the stereotyping for that is basically, working with people with weight, smoking, and confidence. But I found that using current life therapy, my effectiveness was only about 20%. Now, I wasn't sure about past life. So when I go on tour, which I've done now for the last 10 years, and I'm 6 countries, 225 times, I basically start off with, first of all, show of hands, how many people believe in past lives. I do get a fair amount because that's the theme of the show. Okay. And then what happened? And then I say, how many people here aren't sure? Because I point out to people that if you're not sure about past lives, it doesn't matter, because my system, using past life regression, eliminates persistent aches, pains, fears, phobias, debilitating emotions. And if you think it's your imagination and you made it up, but your problem or concern disappears, which it will, it doesn't really matter, does it?
That is so true, because bottom end, is fix what's broken, right? Fix what's uncomfortable, right? I don't care how you fix it. Just fix it, right? And then you're going to get, of course, the opposite end of that, because we are in a duality world. Like, but I want to know exactly how you're going to do this. I want to know what you're going to do, and I want to know how it got there, and who cares, right?
Well, what I do at the talk, though, I do use a bit of logic because it makes sense, because I've done this for a long time. What it was is that we had a demonstration done at our class. In fact, it was a big class. It's when I took my hypnotherapy. We were all teamed up with people. I was actually teamed up with a male medical doctor, and I've actually worked through the years with 5 male medical doctors, 2 female. But anyhow, what it was is that somebody must have asked the teacher about past life. And I wasn't sure about it, but I felt there should be something more than just, like buying my way into heaven like my parents were doing.
Right.
So he said, anybody want to see a demonstration? And there's 24 in our class, so 24 hands went up. Then he said, who wants to volunteer? 24 hands came down. Okay, nothing to do with fear. It's just that we were still under what I do dispel at my talks, that you might go into it and disappear and don't know what you said and all that kind of stuff, which is all total BS, which I'll explain in a moment. But what happened was we did watch a demonstration, and to make it short, I was quite impressed. The girl, one of the students, had gone up and basically saw herself being run over as a boy at train tracks. And also another life he took her to was she was 42 as a female in London in 1942. Obviously World War II was going on, and there was a bombing raid. So when I was listening to this, I'm going, wow, I made lots of notes. But the thing that got me interested in past life was she came into class the next day and she said, hey guys, I always wondered why I hated trains and thunder. And a lot of us went, whoa. But the big thing that really got me onto this was she said, they're gone. They don't bother me. Just like that. And that's how this works.
Right.
Seeing where it comes from. So I work on cause and effect. Like I'm sure you've had stress at least once in your life, correct?
Never.
Okay. But you've heard of people with that, yes. And a lot of people get stress headaches, and they take their
Yes.
painkillers. I don't mention brands because they make enough money already. And that painkiller will generally numb the headache, but it does not get rid of the stress.
Exactly.
So cause and effect. So my system goes to the cause. What it is I do not know what people are seeing. I'm not a reader and say you're a gypsy. I have no idea what you were. What it is, I go the other direction. People either have to see my talk, or actually I do have it on video at a live talk, so I send to people to watch first of all. It's nothing to do, Beverly, with knowing all about past lives. I don't care. It's to show you what I do, so that when you come to a session, all hypnosis is deep relaxation. So when you come to a session and you're thinking, why is he saying this? What's he doing that for? How come he's doing this? That means you're thinking. Thinking
Right.
is not relaxed.
Get out of that thinking brain, right?
And all it is slowing down your conscious to
Right.
almost to the subconscious, which means easy access to the memories. And your subconscious is powerful. You could have 100 past lives. You could have 1,000 past lives. People do this, but it's all stored. It's just that you have to ask it properly questions. Like, it doesn't take expressions and jokes. So that's what I do. You tell me what bothers you, like you got a pain in your shoulder for the last 10 years and nothing is fixing it. And maybe you got a fear of heights, which is the number one fear. And what happens is in the session, I slow you down. I also ask you permission. I get people that think that I can look at you and you go into hypnosis. What a load of crap. They watch too much television.
Right. Hey,
That's
Chris, can we
BS.
stop for a second? I want to make a
Sure.
note of something that you said here.
Sure.
You know, it's giving permission. And I really feel that that's very relevant in whatever modality that anyone is doing, is giving the person an opportunity for their consciousness and their higher consciousness to say, yes, I give you permission, and that's one thing that, I work in similar things that you do, and it is important to know that they have that option to give permission or to not give permission, because it does make a difference, and again, is using and abusing, your powers, shall we say, or your avenue of direction, because not everyone wants to have that. And some people, believe it or not, which I know you know, is they want to remain that victim and feel that pain, right? Hey, there really are people out there that want that, because they don't, they don't know what to do without it, because it's so strange, right? So what you're saying and what you're doing here is relevant, and I just kind of wanted to point that out to the audience, that nothing is being done against their will, and it's not like you're going into this, like you said, the on-stage hypnosis stuff, and this is a real modality here to take a look at what the dysfunctional avenue is in your physical vessel, in your mind, in your consciousness of stored memory, so that now you can eliminate it. There's a lot of questionnaires out there, with past lives, whether it is or isn't. Does it come down through your genetically, DNA, and so it was just in your DNA, and it was grandpa or great grandpa or uncle, and who knows. So there's all these different theories, but bottom line is, if you have something that is not functioning, change it to something that's functional, right?
Because when people come to see me, first of all, they see me because they've seen my talk and they want to get rid of stuff.
Right.
I use big technical terms. But what it is yes, at the beginning of the session, when I'm ready to rock and roll, I say, may I work with you today? And I told them ahead of time that you have to say yes or no. Subconscious doesn't take jokes like maybe, or or do you want to improve your memory? Or that would be nice.
Right.
Subconscious needs a yes or no. So when they say yes, it's not permission. It's that the subconscious, which is there to help you, is now going to help you.
It's going to pay attention.
And rock and roll.
Right, and that is so relevant when it comes to that, with that subconscious, because it takes everything verbatim. It takes everything as being gospel, so to speak. So when people are making comments and they say, just joking, it's like, you know what, your subconscious doesn't say this is a joke. This says it's real. So you really need to understand that that's the programming you're giving. And when you keep saying that over and over and over,
repetition,
it builds up in there, and that becomes your truth and your reality. So really be careful of the words you speak. Right?
Careful what you say to yourself. Yes.
Yeah, you just might get it right.
Yeah, because the whole mind, as you know, is made up of conscious, subconscious. The conscious part of your mind is actually only about 5%. It's actually a processor. Hasn't been to a past life, hasn't got a clue, but it's got an attitude problem. It likes to think it's clever.
I like that. I like that. An attitude problem, right?
When people say, in fact, I've had this a number of times. They finish the session, I got rid of 4 of their concerns, and in fact, and then one of them will say, I think I made it all up. And I look at them, and I'm very polite. I say, you're not smart enough. And then I quickly say, neither am I. And then I explain. The conscious would be the one that thinks it made it up. So when I'm in the session and I say, what year is this happening in? The subconscious will say, it's very clever. It's very quick, gives right answers. But anyhow, if you think, I'm going to say 1802, I'm going to make it up.
Right.
Well, when you do, where did you get the 1802? The conscious has no memory. Right. It gets it from the subconscious. The subconscious doesn't play games. So when the year it pops up and you say, I'm going to make it say 18.2, it was the right answer.
Right.
So, but again, if they still think they made it up, but the concern's gone, it's not really that important.
Exactly.
It does go. And again, what I do is that you see it, you come in, I ask your permission, I help you slow down, because all it is deep relaxation. Nobody floats away, no la la land, none of that BS that you see on TV. And then I just simply say, let your subconscious take you back. The first one, see, it's a pain in your shoulder. Let your subconscious take you back to the cause. Now, if people aren't sure, I say cause. If they do believe in past life, then I'll say go to the past life. It's the cause of the concern in your shoulder. I don't call it pains and aches because you're giving it credence.
Right.
I'll say the cause of the concern in your shoulder. And sure enough, boom, the last one I worked with, the guy saw himself as, he wasn't sure about past life, but he saw himself as a knight in armor in a battle with a sword. And later on he said, I guess there might be a past life because I don't recall having swords and armor. But he got a spear in his left shoulder, pushed at him from, he was on a horse, but there were some of them were fighting on the ground, and shoved it right into his shoulder. Now, I don't lead people. I say, which shoulder? I don't say, is it the one that hurts? I say, which shoulder? And they say, and the point where the pain is, and they point to it in, say it, it's 100%. It's always there, because that's what your subconscious is working on. So then I said, now, there's a few lines I say, but basically I say, let it go now. It's another life. You can let it go. And then I said, no, and I always say, move your shoulder. And one of the last ones, there was a car accident on another one. And they say, well, it can't be a past life. It's a car. It happened in a car. I said, really? How long ago was that? A year and a half. Your body, under normal conditions, can mend itself within months. And so I said, have you done anything for it? She said, I've gone for 7 months of physiotherapy. I says, how much how much can you move your arm? And she put her arm up about like this, but it was just shaking in pain. So I said, put it down, add it to your list, because a lot of people don't realize, add it to your list of stuff, because some people think they're stuck with it. So that one was also an arrow, or I can't remember if he had arrow, spear, or an arrow in the shoulder. And I said, now, you see where it came from? You can let it go, cause and effect. Now, move your arm. And she was doing this straight up. She couldn't believe it. That's what I love about my job, is that people are sitting there with their eyes closed because it's easier to concentrate,
Right.
not be distracted. And when they move a part of their body they haven't moved for decades or years or something, that look is so priceless. And it's so simple. It's the cause and effect when you
Right.
know where it came from. But the whole culprit on this, Beverly, is that our body cells have a memory. They've also proven lately, the AMA, American Medical Association, that people with organ transplants are usually now picking up the traits
Right.
of the person that had that organ. The guy hated pizza, loves pizza. So that's where it is. And the bottom line about the whole thing is, it's to do with lessons not finished. We come
And
into
that
the
makes
human
sense.
form,
That makes
we have a
perfectly
lesson
good
to
sense.
learn, we have a soul group, we pick our parts, we come into the human form, and we totally do not remember what it is, because how would you learn if you had the script in your hand? I just tell people to use intuition and that type of thing, but we do have free will. Lessons you haven't finished don't go away. Every life we come into, we get a new one. But I had a lady in Australia who actually typed out 32 items to work on. Oh my, I was there for two
Oh,
sessions.
wow.
But in a nutshell, what it is that the lessons aren't finished for generally two reasons. One, you got killed or died too soon, or you really screwed up. You're supposed to have been maybe Mother Teresa and you became Jack the Ripper. I think you screwed up. So
Well,
what
there you
happens
go.
is the body cell memory comes along with that ache or pain that you got just before you died, or like if you, 40% of the world have what I gave it a cutesy name called turtleneck syndrome. They can't wear turtlenecks or stuff on their neck or tight.
Right.
It's because they either been hung, beheaded, or strangled. And obviously they didn't finish the life lesson because it's
I
still
must have
there. It
finished
comes
mine.
along.
I'm okay.
Yeah, okay.
There we
But
go.
but there's so many other things. There's so many things like even migraine headaches. Migraine
Yes.
headaches, as my doctors reminded me, they can't fix them. They take that $25 to $50 pill and it numbs it. And as you probably might be aware, migraine headaches are not the same as stress. They're two to
No.
four days,
No, they're not.
and some people can't have daylight or different things, and they just suffer through it. And some people get them weekly, sometimes monthly. In fact, my next younger brother, he had them for decades. And when I saw him in 1989, he had bought a pub in England, went over there, and he was having his migraine. So I said, let's take care of it. And he said, I'm open to it. Turned out roughly what it was is that he had been shot. He loved toy soldiers. When we were kids, he always had to have toy soldiers.
Mhm.
Sure enough, he was a soldier in World War I and World War II. And World War II, I said, what's the details? And he said, well, I'm Canadian, but I'm over here in England getting ready before the Normandy raid, because that's what England did. We had to help the British because of the Commonwealth at that time. And I said, by the way, where were you being trained? And he just went, oh my God. And he said the name of the town. It's the town that he bought a pub in. He had looked for about
Oh
40
my
different,
goodness.
he had gone all over England, but he felt
Right?
comfortable there because we do have often, like I've had people go to holidays and they felt like they're home, or vice versa. Now,
Yes.
the only
Yes.
thing is that in both wars, he got shot through the head without even firing a shot at the enemy, because he poked his head over the trench, or he was also the other one on the landing party, a landing craft. Now, both times, I said, where did the bullets hit you? Because I was going, He said, wow, both times in the right or left temple, and they exited at the back right. And I said, where do your migraines start and finish? And he just looked, oh God, he says, they start here and they finish there. Because some migraines do travel for people.
Yes,
Some
they
people
do.
have them in one spot.
Right.
And that was 1997. He hasn't had a migraine since. Because when you see where it comes from, you let it go. You still have to finish the lesson. That's one thing we can't get away with.
Right.
We still have to finish that lesson. But also I can find what the lessons are for that life that you didn't finish, because they will show that. They will not show you what your current life lesson is. But it means finish the lesson, but you're not encumbered. Like, let's say, for example, your life lesson in this life was to save a family that live on a mountain, okay?
Hmm.
And you got the biggest fear of heights that you can ever think of, which is number one fear. That family's going to be toast because you're not going there because you got a fear of heights. Okay, so you're going to have to do it over and over and over. So that's why they do like it when I help you get rid of the junk that prevents you from doing your life lesson.
Right. You know, all of that really makes sense. And you are speaking my language. This is so fascinating because, you know, there's a lot of modalities out there that can get to the end result. It's how fast can you get there? And, you know, throughout the years, I developed techniques myself, you know, to where it doesn't matter anymore. Because it used to be, you know, oh my gosh, you know, you gotta regurgitate, you gotta figure it out, you have to know. Oh my gosh, I never was a believer in that, you know. And to be able to do that fast, it's like the little system that I started, and it kind of appears like what you're using is very similar in what you're doing for recognition. And so it's recognizing Houston has a problem, right, wherever it's located, and to acknowledging that that's the truth of the issue, because that's what's stored in the memory and that's the truth for the moment. And then it's the opportunity to say, hey, let's let it go because it no longer serves purpose. And then we're going to replace it with whatever that new is, right? So that now we can go from this moment forward and then accept that as our new truth. You know, so it's very simple steps to do that. It doesn't matter how you get there. It matters.
Yeah, you're right. There are a lot of modalities. Some of them are like a bit woo-woo, like look at your feet to see what you look like. Well, I learned very quickly that our energy is all around us. So if you start off, in fact, when I first work with a client, I remind them that it's about 50-50. You start off in that past life looking through their eyes, and 50-50 you start watching them. Now, using male logic, I screwed it up and thought, how could you do it watch from around? Because I was thinking about the lenses and camera.
yeah.
Then I remembered that our energy is all around and it records from all directions. Right. So when people start off in the first life I take them to, I ask them, are they looking through the eyes or watching yourself? That's so simple it is. If they're looking through the eyes, I say, move outside and observe yourself. Because it's a lot easier than look at your legs. I've heard where one was told to go look for a mirror so they can see what they look like. Well, I've worked with over 50 people that have been in caveman days, and they're still looking for their mirrors. Okay. Now, you move them outside and they can watch. It's easier to observe and describe. But it's interesting how this whole thing works. And people that, most people are visual. Like I do a test for when I do my audience. In fact, I do make a profound statement. Anybody here heard the word imagination? Of course, hands go up. Then I say, guess what? And then I give them time to guess, because so many people say, guess what? And then they tell you right away, like, why ask? Anyhow, there's no such thing. The look on their face, and I say, and let me explain. Then I have everybody close their eyes, take a big deep breath, and then in your mind's eye, see or sense or visualize a lemon, a big, bright, yellow, sour, juicy lemon, cutting it up. And taking a bite of one of those pieces of sour, juicy lemon, feel that texture, swallowing it. By this time, half the crowd's doing this, making faces at me. And then I say, try have another piece. Then I say, open your eyes. Now, then I say, how many people the mouth water? Now, basically, it's generally about 80%. But there's always people that say, well, I like lemons. Well, so what? Still make your mouth water. But just to finish, then I say, your mouth watered. That means your body's reacting. They say, yeah. Wait a minute, there was nothing in your mouth. What are you reacting to? Memory. You've had one.
The memory of, exactly.
Because I tell them 100%, I guarantee 100%, if you've never in your life tasted a lemon, you can't have your mouth water. So you can't imagine what the taste, you can't imagine what your mouth will do. It doesn't work. So you can't really make it up. You have to have done it or seen it. So that's why I use that as an expression. Some people, though, most of the people can see the lemon, but some people are more sensing only. But I remind them it's fine, because blind people don't have to see you to know you're there. They can hear you, see you, bite you, kick you, whatever. Right. So, but that's why I say the word see or sense. Generally, if you're visual, you can see, you can also sense. But if you sense only, it's hard to be visual. But I find it interesting, by the time I've done a session with people that aren't visual, I've had so many times they go, I saw lots of that. It's because they weren't trying to be visual. Their friends all see the pretty flowers. I'm going to try harder. Well, the more you try, the more you think. The more you think,
The further
more,
distance you get from just being, right?
and
Yeah.
being the memory, getting the memories of the
Right.
flowers. So, but it's an interesting thing what I do. But I do get people that have come up with some interesting thoughts. But what it is I do occasionally get people. I've worked with thousands of clients. I've had some that very few, but come in that I have no problems. I just want to see what it's about. Every single one of those people, after about maybe a 6 or 7 minute chat, I'll have about 5 items for them to work on. Because a lot of people think that they're stuck with what it is.
Right.
And one guy, when he was talking to me, he was cracking his knuckles. I hate that.
Oh, I do too. It's just like, it's like, okay, there's probably somewhere in the past that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
knuckle cracking has to be related to, maybe it's
Oh,
related
yes.
to a gunshot. It's hard to
Yeah.
say.
Well,
Right?
actually, I have found that almost every single one of them had to do with dungeons.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Dungeons are one of the biggest culprits. What it was is the jail guards. They were not like therapists. They weren't nice people. They were there for torture. And this
Yes,
guy,
they
he saw
were.
himself. They saw himself that they were cutting off his fingers, torturing him. So what he was doing was cracking knuckles. His subconscious would remind him that his fingers are still there. He stopped doing it. He hasn't done it since. But a lot of them wanted to tell you that, well, it helps loosen the fingers. And
Oh yeah,
if that,
yeah.
if that was true, then why don't we all do that? Another big one is actually arthritis. One of my these are arthritis is not hereditary. It is not a disease. It's a condition. Same as fibromyalgia. Now, what happened is that the last really good one came in, case history came in. She was about mid 50s, and her hands was like this, like she could hardly write.
Right.
And I said, "How long has that been going on?" And she said, "About 6 hours, 6 years, 6 hours, 6 years, 6 years." Yeah, she's scared. So 6 years, and I said, "Have you done anything for it?" And well, they've tried medicines and that. Now, one quick thing. When your body cell memory is duplicating the pain from a past life, first of all, it'll tighten that muscle. But if it
Right.
doesn't hurt enough, it'll put the bones out of joint so that they hurt more. That's what happened, because when people have arthritis in their hands, they do get gnarly, and it's just because your body isn't going to flow properly when it's held like that, so the calcium builds up. But what I make it a long story longer is that I said, let your subconscious take you back to the cause. She said, I'm in a dungeon, I'm a female, and they're smashing my hands with a hammer. So I said, now, and one thing I do let people know, when people do see this, there is zero ab reaction. You're not going to go, oh my God. The only action you'll be doing is relief. You'll be knowing where it came from. But anyhow, I said, now you see where it came from. Now move your hands around. Her eyes are closed, sitting there. And now you remember Rice Krispies, the commercial,
Yes.
Snap, Crackle, and Pop? I thought I was listening to that commercial. She was like this, and she started moving this crackle, snap, crackle. And after about 20 seconds, it stopped, and she was going like this. It had cleared up. Now, I do use a scale with my clients. I'll say now 0 to 10. 10 is the way it hurts. 0 is cleared up. What number are you down to? The subconscious answers. Usually it's about 1 or 2, because there is some residue from muscles not being used. But
Right.
they'll go to 0 over the next 2 days. But that was 6 years of that, and it was gone. It happens all the time. It's just, remember, seeing where it came from. Now, my example that I use about seeing where it comes from is like, here's a word picture for you. Pretend you're living alone. It's a dark, spooky, windy night. The wind's howling. Middle of the night, there's a crash, and you jump up and go, what the is that? I'm being polite there. And then you hear it again, and you realize it's just the wind blowing a branch against the window. So if it's not going to break, I'd go back to sleep. Later that night, there's another crash, louder, and you've never heard that before. You jump up, what the? Then you hear it again, you realize, I don't know what that is. Sounds scary. That's when you sort of run amok, somebody coming to kill me, boogeyman,
Right.
that type of stuff. Now, unless we check it out, which we generally don't, we resort to childhood. We pull up our bulletproof covers, okay, and try and get some protection. Don't
Right.
sleep well because of the noise. So wake up in the morning or get up in the morning, not refreshed, didn't sleep well. Still windy, you're going out the door, got to go to work. As you go out the door, you hear that noise again. It's off to your left. You quickly look to the left. and you realize it's just a metal garbage can. The neighbor always had bags. He's got a new metal garbage can. That's where you're going to make, Beverly, a profound statement. It's just a garbage can plus adjectives about the stupid neighbor. One almost done. Next night, another dark, spooky, windy night. The wind's howling again. Garbage can blows over. 50-50, you don't even wake up. But if you do, you're going to make your profound statement again, which is garbage can and stupid neighbor. Now, there's a point here. The noise is the same both nights. Why doesn't it bother you on the second night?
Because you're aware of what it was.
Yeah, you know what it is. I keep it simple. You know what it is. Now, unless you feel the garbage cans are coming to kill you, you would let it
That's
go.
right. That's right.
So next time you hear it, yeah, be silly to get scared about it, unless you love being scared, which, then you need another help. But anyhow, point I'm making is if I told you that, hey, I'm pretty sure it's just a garbage can, and you hadn't seen it yet, but still heard it. I don't know about you, but the next night I'd be going, does that guy know what he's talking about? He doesn't live here. I'm going to just peek out the window.
Right.
It is a garbage can. Bottom line is, we are an animal likes to see to believe. Telling people like a reader, it does not help you at all.
No, and that's where things are backwards. It's our belief system has been so compromised and challenged by our own doubts and fears that we have to see it to believe it.
Yes.
But when you believe it, it becomes it, right? So whatever it is that you focus on or believe in the most is what is going to result. Good, bad, or indifferent, that's your choice. Where do you take your fears or where do you take your unfears, right? Let me ask you a little bit about something you've been talking about, like some different distortions in the body. One of the greatest things in today's world, and has been for quite a few decades, is weight. Overweight, and with overweight comes what? Knee problems. And I know knees are all about the ability, to be flexible and to get that moving forward and stuff. But
support,
and the weight, lower back problems, which also go into that that support or the lack of support, right? So when you look at something like that, because I'm sure you probably come across an awful lot of people that come up with that weight issue. Can you share with the audience some of the things that maybe some clients have discovered when it comes to weight? What is it that they're trying to carry through this lifetime from other lifetimes?
Well, basically, Beverly, overweight has been caused as, again, past life. Like I usually say to the audience, I'm sure it's never happened here, but I bet you've heard of people that go on diets, go to companies and places, and they lose 10, 20 pounds, and they take a break, and it always pops back. That's because of the same cause and effect. You take an aspirin for the headache, but it doesn't get rid of the stress. So what happens is, I have found through working with hundreds and hundreds of people on weight, there's 3 reasons basically why your weight problem pops back, other than you haven't finished something. One of them is that rich and poor back in the old days, who was bigger? The rich. And it was prestigious to be overweight, and like you had money and stuff like that. Often you died from being overweight and you didn't finish the lesson. So your subconscious says, no, you're not losing weight. We haven't finished that lesson. You were big then. And your subconscious is in charge of your immune system. The second one is often dungeons. No, you don't lose weight. We starve to death in a dungeon, or street people. I'm going to put it back on, and it does. Once you stop. See, if you're really working hard on that, on the plan that they give you, you're in charge. As soon as you take a break, the subconscious puts it back on. The third thing, and I have this getting quite common, is protection. You were raped in a past life. So your subconscious is putting your weight on so that you're less likely to be attracted to being raped. So once we have found where those 3 come from, which one of those 3 you are, then people, yes, can and do lose the weight. It's not overnight. It doesn't just drop off. But I have found that your subconscious, in fact, it was really funny. This one lady got back to me. She said that when she looked in her fridge the other day, she found food in there that she didn't remember buying. And it was all healthy food. So she said, I'm going to watch myself. So next time she went to the grocery store, she sort of watched herself. Like, out of habit, was reaching for something that wasn't healthy, and her
Right.
hand moved over and took the other item that was. So it subconscious is trying to help. It's there to help you, but it has to finish your lesson. But it does. So once you still got to finish it, you just don't have to bring in the aches and pains. And of course, the weight does affect the knees and hips. I hear so many people say, "Oh, I got a hip replacement. I got a knee." God, if I had
Right.
seen them a year, 6 months before that, they would never. I've had people cancel their operations because the pain is gone. Why would you have the operation?
Exactly.
Lady in New Zealand was trying to touch the lights when she left. She canceled her operation for her right shoulder. Well, makes sense. Why would you go and get something removed or affected or changed when it doesn't hurt?
Yeah. I've noticed a lot of different dysfunctions in the body, like you're talking about RA and different, items like that. The
RA.
fibromyalgia is where they're given the arthritis,
Oh,
and
okay.
right, and so basically they're given different medications, and of course the medications, being synthetic and everything else, now are causing another dysfunction to happen,
Yeah.
which then usually ends up in putting weight on. So when you're starting to look
Yeah.
at all these different avenues, one just kind of overlaps the other and the other, and takes you back into what that, like as you said, cause, because it is all about cause and effect, action and reaction, right? Belief and unbelief. Well, your subconscious belief is going to be there stronger because it's the one that rules the roost, right? Not the consciousness. And so when these things happen, it becomes another piece of the story, right? And when there is no more story, it's over, right?
Again, finish the lessons, but you don't have to bring in that stuff that gets in the way. A quick one is kind of funny. Birthmarks are not birthmarks. You should
Oh yeah! Oh my gosh, I've had
call
some
them,
stories on
yeah,
birthmarks. Yes,
yeah.
share this.
You
This
can
is
call them a
exciting.
death mark. Okay, and that's where
Oh,
you've been
okay.
shot, stabbed, and stuff like that. I had one lady at a talk said, "Well, I think it's hereditary because I have a mark in the back of my neck, and my two sons have the same." Now I said, "Well, that does sound like it could be hereditary, but let's just check it out." She was having, I knew she was going to have a session the next day. So I said, by the way, let's check it out. 'Cause I usually don't do much with body or with birthmarks. They're usually not bothering you. I said, let's check it out. And she go, oh my God, you're right. Her and her two sons are from the same soul group. And in a
Hmm.
different life, they were all in an army together, and they all got executed the same way.
Oh
So
wow.
that's what, yeah. So it had nothing to do with hereditary. But there's a lot of weird things, or people that come in and think that there's nothing. It's nothing, or they're stuck with what it is. One lady came in, and she was continually clearing her throat, and I said, "How long have you been doing that?" And she said, "What?" I said, "Clearing your throat." "Oh yeah." I said, "It does bother people." She said, "All my life." So I said, "Let's put it on your list." Because in a session, I can take care of 2 to 5 different things. That's how quick this is. So I put it on the list. She had died in Pompeii, that big eruption, that island, and the
Right.
volcano. Yep.
Right.
What happened was they're still finding bodies there, the archaeologists, and they haven't been burnt away. It was just they're still pretty well intact. It was they couldn't breathe from the dust.
From the dust. Yeah.
She stopped. She left not clearing, and she says, "It's also my asthma's gone too, because it'll affect your breathing. Asthma and allergies, they're all past life." But another guy or woman came in and for a session. Now, what happened is that when I work with somebody in my office, I give them when I'm ready to go their headphones. Okay,
Hmm.
then I have a little microphone. It's into a little mixer. Even though they're right in front of me, I do that for a couple of reasons. One, sometimes when I'm set up in different areas, sometimes there's a traffic noise and traffic, so it helps block it out. Second is I can pipe in some really boring music. In fact, it's my wife's voice. She's and my son layered it and all those kind of fancy words. But this, and they don't hear. I don't hear it. They hear it. Plus, also, if somebody has poor hearing. So I said to the girl, ready to go. She's about 35. It's one of my favorite stories. I can still get goosebumps when I tell you this. What it is I said, now I just want to just do a sound check on the music. I don't want it loud, just sort of this way. It's no dead airspace sort of thing. She said, "What music?" So I turned it up a bit more. No, turn it up louder than I've done with anybody. She says, "Just nice." So I said, "Let's put it on your list. How long have you had? Also, how long have you had this concern?" She said, "About 20 years." I should have realized because people, but she was so young, I didn't notice. People that have hard of hearing stare at you more because they actually learn to start reading your lips a bit too.
Right.
A good way to test testing is talk like this, but anyway. So what happened was about 20 years. So I said, let's go to the past life. It's the cause of that concern. Make it shorter, she was an only child on a farm. It was a couple hundred years ago and it's dilapidated, and not much of a door, and a rat had got in, and Mom was screaming to Dad to go get the rifle and shoot the rat. It was about 100 years ago, 1905 or something. So anyhow, well, that's over 100. So anyhow, she said, I'm in another room, I'm a 15-year-old girl. She said, I'm very nosy. And then she said, I'm nosy in this life too. We often bring in our
Okay.
trait. We bring
Yeah,
in
we
our
do.
traits.
Yeah.
So she ran around the corner to see what Dad was doing, and the rifle went off, and it was too close to her ear, and it deafened her in that life.
Ah.
But the bottom line is, and I still get goosebumps when I relate this history. She said, I know now where it came from, and can you turn the music down? That's how fast it works. Because the muscles were holding the ear stuff in your ear, so it
Right.
didn't work. As soon as it let go of it, I could see where it came from. Okay, no, can you turn the music down? That's how quick it, because she was almost deaf,
Yeah.
in that mostly the left ear. That's how quick it works.
I
So,
know
love
some
this.
of our listeners out there are saying, okay, yeah, that's all fine and dandy, but what happens later? What happens 2 weeks down the road, 2 years down the road, 4 years down the road? Is it just something that's in the moment? People think that it has been fixed, or does it remain? Because I these are questions that I have had, from clients and stuff too. How long does this last, Chris? How long is this? Is this a permanent thing?
Permanent.
There we go.
Think of the garbage can. When you know it's a garbage can, years later you hear that noise, your memory's going to go, it's just a garbage can.
Right.
It doesn't say, oh, I forgot what it is, let's get scared again. No. Plus,
Yeah.
also, I will show you what the lesson was for that life too, and you'll work on that. And if you get rid of that lesson, well, then that's not even, it's gone, totally gone.
Right.
So when people bring in a life problem, physical. Now, actually, because our timing's going here, let me explain. Lately, the last few years, I'm always adding stuff, and I too have graduates, so they sometimes send me stuff because we always see so much different stuff happening. We share. And one of the things I'm sharing a lot more lately is that on my list of stuff, I also put down debilitating emotions. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you go to a therapist to get rid of depression and anxiety and maybe suicidal anger, stuff like that, I know of people that go for months and months or years and years, and they don't seem to go too far with this. Basically, I have found that 98% of our concerns are from past life. Now, if you're a therapist working in current life, what's the odds that you're going to help that person? About zero. A good example is Dr. Brian Weiss. He was a psychiatrist. He now does past life. But anyhow, just to continue. So what happened is that we bring in the emotions from the past lives. And again, when you don't know where it came from, that's why it's still there.
Right.
I have found that how to clear that up is because we get stuck lives. Our energy, we're normally energy, as you know, and we come into the human bodies to learn lessons because energy does not feel aches and pains. We have to mature our soul group. When I do get people ask heavy questions like why, and I go, I don't know, but I know how to fix it. Okay, because I don't want to get into big discussions when I come to see my talk.
Right.
So anyhow, now what happened is that when we die or the body dies, we generally, our little bit of energy goes home. I call the soul group home because you'll feel the homeness of it. Now, we don't have to. We have free will. Sometimes we don't leave because of a strong anger or a strong emotion, like revenge or anger. I'm going to kill that person, or I didn't finish my lesson, or am I really dead? Or I got to help my family, which is very hard to do when you're dead because it's hard to get a job. But there's so many things strong. Now, those strong emotions that are holding them there are affecting you because you're part of that same energy.
Exactly.
Remember,
Exactly.
when you don't know where it comes from, gain ache or pain, how do you fix it? You go to a therapist who says, why did you hate your parents earlier in this life? What's that got to do with it? has
yeah,
nothing.
exactly.
So,
Yeah.
so when you are doing a session, I ask your subconscious out in front of you, because it's not like you disappear and come back. I'll say, let your subconscious tell you, do you have any lives you're still stuck in and haven't left? And sure enough, now the average person has two or three or four.
Hmm.
Some have seven or eight or nine, but in a session I can only cover about two, because of I would be here all day and your conscious starts to wane after a couple hours. So I say, if I can only handle two, I'll say, let your subconscious pick the two you need to see. Well, sure enough, this one lady had come in. She said, life's been great, but I'm angry all the time. I says, have you done anything about it? She says, this, I've been going to the therapist for 4 years. Has it been helping? She goes, no. Okay. I said, let's find out. Sure enough, one of her lives was angry, just anger, holding it. So what I do is I say, now take that life home, that energy home. In other words, go and see it. Now I don't know. It's sort of like I have to picture, like maybe they go and knock on the door and say, come on, can I come in? You got to go home. No, I just say, go and see them. And how is they reacting? And usually it's like a surprise, or they're happy, or not sure. Then I say the magic words to them, which are, it's time to go home. And I have also people say this out loud. When you say something out loud, it sinks in better than thinking
Oh,
it.
definitely, definitely. It
Yeah.
just kind
And then
of
I
brings
say,
it back
take
into
their hand.
life.
I know it's weird, but it works. But I said, take their hand. Did they give you their hand? And now 9 times out of 10 they do. If they don't, then we have to go a little further into it. But anyhow, they take them home. And I said, are they getting happier now that they're going home? Yes. When I get to the soul group, are they happy to see that person? Yes. In fact, sometimes I've heard them say, it's about time you got home, or stuff like that.
Right.
Our soul group energies have a good sense of humor. Then I asked them that question for each one. That person being stuck in their life, how has that been affecting you? And she goes, anger. And as she's saying that, she started sitting up straighter. She said, it's gone. I said, yes, you've taken it home. It's, and she says, that was only, what, 15, 20 minutes? She said 4 years didn't work. That is
Right.
one of the things I like. So I get rid of a lot of these angers and all these letters like ADT, OCD. I got a list here. That stuck feeling. So many people say, I don't know what to do with my life. I'm feeling stuck. It's your stuck life that's affecting you. So it's so quick to change it.
It's
And
interesting that that you said a word is stuck. Well, that's that lifetime, right? When
mhm,
we really begin to pay attention to what we are speaking verbally, that is going to give us so much insight into what issues need to be resolved to be able to move forward,
mhm,
complete, as you say, complete that lifetime, that period, that lesson, by just paying attention to the verbal language that we use, right?
mhm. Yeah, wordology. Oh, one quick thing, uh, like I have 4 books.
Awesome.
They're
I was going to
they're
ask
not.
you if you've written any books, which I
Yeah,
presumed you did.
yeah. So I've got 4. I got 2 more to go in my series. What it is, these are not how-to books, because I cannot do what I do to myself. So how can I teach you to do yourself? Because if I have to ask questions, which I would, I'm thinking, so I can't do this to myself. I'll get one of my grads to work with me or something. But these are case histories, and they're fascinating. They're interesting. Also, it has a lot of people go, I didn't know that could be fixed. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
so I was going to do one, and it's called, I made a little play on words, life in the past lane instead of fast lane. And
I
but
like that.
I didn't have enough room for the fears and phobias, so I put together a second book, uh, aches and pains, and the fourth one, so it just came out lately, and it's read for a reason. Crimes against humanity. It's to do with, we're back here, serial killers, Jack the Ripper, World War II atrocities, torture, dungeons, witches, sexual assaults. And it's not again the gore, it's to show you where we get a lot of this stuff from
Right.
and how easy it is to clear up.
You had mentioned something earlier in the conversation about being back in the dungeons and in the torture chambers and things like that.
Hmm.
I have run across numerous occasions, where people have had some of these tragic events and things that are happening that have also had them going back into that arena. And again, when you start watching, you look at what's around you. What is it you're attracted to? And if you're attracted to these type of pieces and parts and equipment from past times, there's a reason why you're attracting that. You know, it's like, oh, if someone likes wicker furniture, there's a reason for that. If someone likes Victorian style homes, there's a reason for that. If you like to have, you know, these swords hanging on your wall, there's a reason for that. And so when you start looking at your surroundings, it's going to give you an opportunity to see what's impacted going on in your world today and in that world of this physical body, this mental body, this emotional body. What is functioning here as a result of what you have hanging or living or walking through? What are you attracted with? Right?
We bring our traits with us, like I said, with the woman that was nosy, yes. Yeah. And it's also how I do help on the good side of things. I do help people improve their talents. So many people, like there's proteges, they're playing a piano, Beethoven playing a piano by two, watching his dad teach his 5 or 7-year-old sister. Now, is that just because he was clever? No, I guarantee you he played piano in previous lives.
Right.
So you're relearning to ride the bicycle. So when I do get people to say, I always like art, maybe I'm not as good as I like to be, but I like to find out why. Sure enough, they will have 1 or 2 lives that they've had. And often, one guy said, I picked up the talents from those 2 lives, because really it's not plagiarism, it's himself, just didn't know it. And he said, now my style that I use is much better. Also, I learned how to take the money, none of this stupid, starving artist bullcrap. What have you.
You know, isn't it interesting how we capitalize psychologically, mind-wise, by just words that someone said? Like you said, oh, artist, starving. Really? You know? You know, and again, it's when you really start to look at what's being said, what is the programming that we're allowing someone else to give us so that we can take the responsibility from the self and blame it to someone else, right? Yeah. So it's all about here. It all starts with the self, no matter what. Doesn't matter what era, doesn't matter where it come from. It matters that you recognize it, and if you're done with it, then let it go. Yeah. And it really is just that simple. And, you know, Chris, the things that you've been sharing here today are really fascinating. I say, you're really talking my language. You're in my space for darn sure, right? And there's a lot of my audience that are going to, you know, really enjoy this as well, and hopefully start to pass it on. When we look at what's going on in the world today with this COVID pandemic, all these mandatory things, and it's like, whoa, where is this coming from? You know, share with the audience, what's your theory on the upside down worldness of 2020?
It's well, that can go on for hours with that one, especially my wife does that. But
you don't have that long, so in a nutshell, real quick.
It's control. It's control. It has nothing to do with it. We don't. In those days, we quarantined the sick, not the healthy, and more people are still dying of cancer, flu, all these things, and we're not wearing masks for them. Right. And some of them are contagious, not the cancer, but the flu and stuff like that. It's control, and it's really taken over. But hopefully, it'll get better. But anyhow, it's control. They're bankrupting, you know, like, where's all this money coming from? It's from the big people that lend the money, and it gives them control. It's going to be a loss of control, but we get a lot of protests and stuff that people are starting to, in some areas, you know, like think.
It's part of that awakening, right? You know, people are really beginning to wake up and say, hey, wait a minute, who am I responsible for? Right here.
One thing is that actually just a little side bit, I'll come back into it, is that fears and phobias. I've worked on 141 different fears and phobias. Some of them are ones of. What do you think are the top 4 most common fears? I've told you number 1 already.
Well, heights. Public speaking is definitely a major thing.
It's way down. But it's there, but it's way down. The top 4 are heights,
fear of heights,
claustrophobia. I'm going to jump to number 4, which is deep water. But number 3, which sounds a little different, it's called fear of success.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
it's interesting how you're saying that. I just want to share real
yeah,
quick when you said water.
sure.
As a child,
Uh-huh.
I had these continuous dreams, the same dream all the
Yeah,
time,
that's a past
that
life.
I was drowning. And I was up to here and I was drowning. I'm out in the middle. Everything is dark. I can't see the shoreline or anything. And I'm just bobbing in this deep, dark water. You know, that went on for years and even into my adult life. And then it was actually in the 90s when I began to recognize where that came from, like you said, you know, and I knew it had to come from the past. And when I discovered where it all began, and I cleared up that issue, and I got to the shore, it was gone. I've never had that dream since, you know. So it's interesting. But any of those
Recurring
other
dream.
phobias,
Yeah,
none of
yeah.
them were gone. I mean, I jump out of airplanes, jump off buildings. It's okay, right? And
Reoccurring dreams are your past life, your subconscious trying to show you that.
exactly,
One thing
exactly.
I do like to point out to people is don't listen to anybody that says you should face your fears. That is a load of crap. Facing your fear is like taking an aspirin for the headache. It's going to come back. A good example is a fellow that I worked with some years ago. He had a fear of heights, strong. He was about 32 or 3, early 30s, his age. Now, I said, have you done anything about it? He says, yes, I was told to face my fears, so I did try something. I said, what? And he said, I went skydiving. I said, wow, that probably did something. And he said, and then I said, did it work? And he sort of timidly looked down. He says, I still can't climb ladders. It doesn't work. 10 minutes into the session on heights, it was gone because he had fallen off a mountain years ago in a different past life. The point is yes, you did happen. That's where it came from. But hello, that's a different life. Let it go. Finish the lesson. Remember, cause and effect. So that is the main thing. But fear of success sounds like almost like a different thing, but it's not. It's our subconscious saying you got rich in the past lives, or you got too famous or too well known, and people were jealous and they killed you. And because they didn't have CSI, they got away with it. But your subconscious says don't get too rich, don't get too
CSI.
successful,
Okay, Chris.
but don't get too successful because you got killed for it. So that's why a lot of people end up doing self-sabotage, start making stupid decisions and stuff. I've seen that so many times. So that is something that I can help you with. And also for a career, the only ones I really have a problem, and I've had just 3 or 4 through the years, is that somebody that's on compensation from work with an injury and getting paid to stay home, and they hate their job.
Right.
So if they get better, they'd have to go back to work. So
Right.
that will hold. So what I've done with them is say, let's just clear it up, but let's find out what other career could you do instead of that job you hate. And sure enough,
Yeah.
in fact, one of them took my training. My training, just to finish, is that I teach people to do what I do. And what I do is what I do. And when the people that do take my course have done a session with me. In fact, if somebody does inquire about it, I say, fine, you have to do a session. Because this way you'll know. I did make a mistake years ago. I had somebody come into the class that was recommended by somebody else. And the whole class and all of us kicked her out after 2 days. Because she just totally didn't understand and was fighting. So, hello. Because she had her own thoughts on how to do this. Well, hello, but why come to the class? Do your own thing. But the point I'm making is that you do the session, you see what it's about. That is why I get a lot of people that want to do what I do, because what I do, just like you, you're unique, and I'm unique. And again, I use logic. I don't say go through the blue mist, which I've heard
Yeah,
people do.
I don't either. You know, let's
The
let's not
mirrors
get
and
carried away. Yeah.
corridors. Yeah. I simply say, your subconscious computer, go to it. It's there.
It's right
So,
there. Exactly.
yeah. So I have now. I had been doing a few live classrooms in different cities, not 2 or 3 times a year. And in fact, I did Canada, Mexico, Australia. And what happened though is that lately we can't quite travel that easily. But even before this came up last year, I started pushing and designing my course online. It's a little bit different. In fact, it's actually better. It's one-on-one. I still get people say, "How many are in your class?" And I say, "What part of one-on-one got you confused?" It's
The
one-on-one.
one or the one.
Yeah, yeah. But it's actually when I'm in a
Right.
class, they're not big classes up to five. They didn't get full attention as they do on one-on-one because what it is we use Skype just like we're doing sort of like here, and we go through it. You still have to do some practice on your own, and then I watch you do some more, and then I do one, and then you end up that, and I give you a script because it's a lot easier to follow a guideline than try and make it listen to me
Exactly.
once and try to remember what I said, because when I cover a session there's tons I didn't get to because it depends on what happened with that client. So they do get that, and a lot of them are making a career of it because they happen to know people with persistent aches, pains, fears, phobias, and debilitating
Wow, you think
outcomes.
there's a few of them on the planet?
Oh, it's sort of like, who isn't?
It's exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
so the work that you're doing here, Chris, and the information you shared here today is totally, totally priceless.
Thank you.
And if people want to get a hold of you, can they? Well, of course, they can reach out below here. We're going to have Chris back for another adventure, shall we say, right?
Oh,
And talk about some other things. And
thank you for the warning.
so,
Okay.
you
Just
welcome.
kidding.
You
Just
welcome.
kidding. Just kidding. I'd love to come back because there's lots more. But yeah, what it is that I'm just getting my website redone. The first, my program or graphic designer, she's in Calgary, and I just talked to her again yesterday. She's the one that designed my covers and put
They're
the stuff
beautiful,
together
by the way.
for,
I like
for the
that how
printing.
they're basically the same but different. And the
Yeah,
colors, again, when you look at colors will definitely
yeah.
impact what's going on in the world.
And
Why do
that's
you
red for
dress
the
a
blood.
certain
Yeah, yeah,
time, and
yeah,
why, what is it significant of? And again, too, when you're looking at that red book, it's the blood, but it also has to do with pain. When they show pain, what
yeah,
do? They show red, right?
yeah,
Where's
yeah,
anger?
yeah,
Anger is, red.
yeah.
All of these different things. So we do associate color with different
Mhm,
avenues of events and things that happen in our life, and
mhm,
beginning, again, going into the past life, going back into the history of the cell memory, basically, and the
mhm,
cell memory is only, it's there, and it comes with the spirit, because the spirit brings, like you say, unfinished business with it, and all these other lifetimes where you've gotten stuck, to be able to start, clearing it out. And whether you believe it or not really doesn't matter.
mhm.
If
Just,
you
just
are ready,
tell me what I just
let's
say.
say,
Tell me what you see.
if
That's
you're
all it
ready
is.
to get rid of it,
Mhm,
it's going to go. And that's one of the things I share with my clients as well. You're here for a reason. How committed in fixing the situation are you?
yeah,
Because I never label
yeah,
things either. You have a
yeah,
dysfunction in here.
yeah, yeah.
Do
That's
you
what I call
enjoy
it.
it?
Yeah.
Do you want to continue with it? No. Then on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you to let it go? You're at a 10? Great. Then just listen to what I say, repeat it, and I guarantee it'll be gone.
Again, seeing where
So
it came from, it makes a big difference.
it
Yes.
it really does, and it
Mhm,
doesn't matter where it comes from. And again, all thought's magnetic. All thought is magnetic. So when you're thinking you're going to go in here, find the exact reason why everything has transpired, think again. 95% is somebody else's garbage that you've attached to because it's familiar, it's similar, and so you're going to take it on as if it were yours because you think you're Charles Atlas and you can carry the world, right? Not so much. So it doesn't matter where it come from. It matters. It's no longer an issue. End of
mhm.
story, right?
Yeah. Because negativity, we seem to pass it around like free money.
Yeah, we do. No, it's like candy, and right here you go. You want a
Yeah.
piece? You want a piece? Want a piece?
Yeah. Like public speaking, I do teach people how to do that. One of the biggest fears people have is what if they ask me a question that I can't answer? I back up and say, first of all, why are you up there? Did people come to see you and hope you screw up, or did they pay to see what you know? And nobody's going to have you talk about something you don't know.
That's
You know,
exactly right. That's
when you
exactly
do
right.
and the biggest thing I do find is that people say, "What if I get asked something I can't answer?" Well, in the old days, they say, "Oh, that's a good question. I'll get back. Give me your number. I'll get back." Nobody's going to give you a phone number, and you're not even there. Here's how I was taught, and I pass on. Just say to somebody that question, something to the fact that that's a good question. I actually can't answer that, but does anybody here in the audience have any views on that? Every single time, two or three people will start wanting to banter back and forth and answer that question. They
Right.
always will. So that takes it. Plus, you also learn it too. So they're not. So don't worry about it. So it's just that. Or
And
the old.
again, if you're thinking they're going to ask you something that you don't know, guess what's going to
Yeah.
happen? They're going to
I
ask
know.
you what you don't know. But
And
you
they're-
don't
and
know what you don't know
Yeah.
until you know it. Now, what are you going to
Yeah.
do about it, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a number of things. But little thing I also teach people is not a word. Stop going Drives me nuts. It
Yeah.
means you don't know what you're talking about.
You know,
So you eliminate that.
that is so funny. I've had different people coming on the show, right, that are a little bit nervous because it's not something they're familiar with, and they're getting used to it, right? And they get going in a conversation, or even if they know that they're in a recorded, say, conversation or something, all of a sudden their ability to speak goes into this major shifting, right? And now it's like all of those words,
Just flow.
and other words where they'll take one word and they'll use it over and over and over and over and over.
Oh.
It's just like, I mean, it's just I'm a people watcher, I'm a people listener. So to be able to, you see this happening, and again, when you're teaching someone how to get out there and speak, how to really allow the flow to go. Are you confident in your subject?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
If
Don't
you're
repeat
confident
the
in
same
your
thing,
subject, then there should be no issue, right?
And you're just telling them what you know.
Yeah. It's
Yes.
just pretend you're just sitting over a cup of coffee. It's no different, right? So,
Exact.
oh my gosh, Chris, we're gonna wrap this up, but I have one question
Just
to
let me say
ask you.
my website.
Oh
It's
yes,
being-
oh my goodness, yes.
Just being rebuilt. It's just her and I went over a few more things, the wordology, and
I like that wordology.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, okay, and I started. My original website was past life regression and progression.
That's a long word.
I know. So I now shortened it to pastlifewrap.com. Rap isn't like, hey, I'm doing rap. It's RAP, rap, regression and progression. So if anybody wants to check it out, it's not quite finished, but it'll give you lots of info. Pastlifewrap.com.
Pastlifewrap.com.
And if you want to order books, I have a special on them for people that mention your name. They get a better deal. You get all 4 for $25. The store
Oh
sells.
my gosh, there you go. You heard it here. All 4 books for $25.
Yeah.
Just mention the
Here's
Beverly Zimet Show. Oh, that's awesome.
Because the store's selling for about 15 each. That's like 60. Just I want to get rolling with some.
Now, do they get that off of your website then?
Yeah, or email me at cl@pastlifewrap.com. CL.
So everything is pastlifewrap.com.
Yeah. So you email me and I can tell you a bit more about it. Plus, I'll sign them for you too. And also, if you're getting all 4, I also include my CD, which is Relaxation Plus. It's a bit of self-hypnosis, sort of teach you how to sleep better, relax better.
Awesome.
Because a lot of people feel guilty about relaxing.
Oh,
Yes.
that is so true. That is so true. And now with all this so-called excess time that we've had, right? It's like learning how to really, really relax. And that stress is,
I know, because you're thinking, see, basically those people have been brought up with, you're not supposed to be watching TV, you're supposed to be doing your homework, you're not supposed to be playing, you're supposed to be plowing the back
right.
And you grow up with that, into adulthood, you bring with you that fear, like, I should be doing something. So
you're always looking over your shoulder. I should be doing something, right?
I know.
Yeah.
Well, we get rid of it. Mind you, sleeping can affect people by poor sleep affects people from 2 directions. One, too much what if, or you were murdered in your sleep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, those are real extremes.
Yeah.
So, Chris, One thing to leave the audience with. What can they do starting today in that avenue of becoming that best them in everything that you shared today? What is one thing you would have them begin at this point to change their life?
Learn to relax. Think and relax.
Think
But
and relax.
or see you and me.
There you go. That's right.
Okay.
We might have to
That'll
do
help.
something in a collaboration here, right?
Yeah.
But
Sounds like
that
a
is
plan.
so true. So learn to relax, because when you relax, it puts you in a whole different frame of mind. It puts every one of your muscles, your ligaments, your organs, everything in this physical meat machine is going to shift, right? And when you relax, just see yourself letting go of what no longer serves purpose, right?
There is one little trick that I do though, is that if I have to work out something or think about something, I find that if I walk back and forth like a pacing, not just 3 or 4 steps, but a hallway. In fact, backing up, when we were in school, remember we had to memorize poems and stuff?
Right.
I found I could always learn them better by walking back and forth. You see, and even now I do the same. I have a long hallway at the house here, and if I have something I got to go over, walk back and forth. What's going to happen is your conscious, with its ego problem, likes to think it knows answers. And if you sit down and start to think about what your concern you want to go over, you'll start daydreaming, because it says, "Oh, boring." Let's think about what I found from walking back and forth is that you're distracting the conscious, because it has to make sure you don't run into the walls. You're not going to fall over. It's distracting it so your subconscious can get in and you can go over stuff. Works like a charm. So
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. That's why I do some of my best work when I'm driving, because the consciousness has to pay attention to the road, right?
Yes, distracting it, getting it out of the way.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
All right,
Thank you
Chris,
very
we will
much,
have you
Beverly.
on for part 2 and part 3 and part 4, and right?
All
So
right.
it's time to say, go out there, be that best you that you can be, because Chris and I are going to be the best we that we can be, and we'll all see you on the next show. Bye for now. Thanks, Chris.
Bye. You're welcome.